Today, as we start the show, this one mic. We hail. And boom, throughout the stadium, there is a pause throughout the stadium as this man sounds like he just coughs up a lung. Just looking around, the Jumbotron shows and pans the cheerleaders, and as it goes down each cheerleader's face, each one breaks up into laughter, which at this particular time destroys half the stadium. The other half is still trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Does this guy need CPR or something? And then at that particular time, I lost it. Devon Druck. Yes, today.
Blog Talk Radio.
The show, this one mic.
Phoenix is another place. They got a great training staff. They were able to breathe life back into Shaq. And you can do that. People talk a lot about their training staff.
Blog.
Yes, today, as we start this show, this one mic.
Yes, today, as we start this show, this one mic. Welcome to One Mic here on RSG, Real Sports Guys. Please go to realsportsguys.com. You can also catch us on social media platforms. You can definitely come and get us here on YouTube at realsportsguys.com and check this show out along with other shows. We here in the building. It was draft day. It's report card day. At least two of us are working. Well, all of us have some affiliation with a college campus, and we know it's near the end of the semester. And, it's grading time, and the draft has happened. And we really going to just try to figure out in the heart of our show who was on the honor roll and who's on academic probation, who's been dismissed, who is on the new can't trust it list. It was a great draft. You caught a couple of our shows. We did an update. I know Darnell was updating, and we did one after the first three rounds, and he kind of shared his big board. So this is going to be a great conversation that we'll have today. But there's a lot going on in the world of sports, and so we're gonna get into the open mic, and hang out and see what's been happening in the sports world before we get into the heart of our work in the Cipher and talk about the NFL draft. And so we'll open up with an introduction with my guys first, and then we'll get to our back page. How you doing, Carl? How's it going, man?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Doing well. Except for interesting draft. A lot of people paying it. A lot of people saying it was genius. So I don't know, probably somewhere in between. But yeah, it was interesting. I was surprised at some of the picks and had some opportunities to. There was an app where they were kind of giving the picks beforehand. There was a feed the Bears had. They gave you the picks before it happened, but I caused myself. I didn't go do that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting draft, man. I thought we'd get more receivers, and we got one receiver who's older than Darnell, but that's another story. so
we'll get into that. Yep, you got a young GM. You got a young GM trying to establish his presence in Hallis Hall.
I appreciate the fact that he was able to trade down and get more picks. I think that's the smart thing to do. Get more people drafted and come in with a bunch of UDFAs. But I don't know. I'm mixed. I mean, one of my guys in Chicago thinks it's the best draft ever. He's like, he's going to show everything. And, my guy Lee Allen Jones, give him a shout out. But I was somewhere in between. I don't think it was a D draft like these people saying nationally. I think it was probably B minus. But, I mean,
all right, we'll get in that. We'll get too much into it, but we know right now we are foreshadowing a little bit of cloudiness when we get to the draft talk in Chicago, and so this will be good. We'll reflect a little bit. Darnell, you've been busy. I know you've been keeping your eyes on it. You've been all over the place. We got boxing, we got all this stuff. But how you doing right now before we get into the back page?
Man, I'm feeling great. A lot of stuff going on, like you said. But hey, being busy is a blessing. So
that's it.
That's it. Keep that in mind.
All right. Well, We got to talk about the back page. There's a lot going on. You know, like that New York Post. They always had them great those great headlines on the back page, hitting those big moments in sports, capturing whatever craziness is happening in the sports world. So we're going to talk about what we might have on our back page. Darnell, I'll go back to you. What's been in front of mind in terms of what's been happening in the sports world?
Well, boxing.
Yes.
You already mentioned it, but we had one of, if not probably the best women's boxing match in the
Oh my
history of women's
goodness.
boxing last Saturday, between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. I don't think I've made an official prediction, but I always thought Serrano would win that fight. But and through the first about 4 or 5 rounds, it seemed like she was proving me right. Um, she was putting the pressure on Katie Taylor. She had her in some serious trouble, but Katie Taylor, she was tough, and she was able to weather the storm and get her second win. And towards the back end of the fight, Katie Taylor swept like the last 4 or 5 rounds consecutively. So it was a fight where I personally scored it a draw. Um, I, I think women's boxing they fight 10 rounds across the board.
Yeah.
So I had it 5 rounds to five. I scored it a draw. So it's no robbery, you know. A fight. I could see it going either way, but one of the scorecards where they said Serrano only won 3 rounds. I mean,
Yeah, that person was drinking. I don't know what they was drinking. They should check their cup. At best, it was a draw, and I was leaning on Serrano's side. Serrano did make mistakes. Serrano had those knees buckling, and should have gone for the should have gone for the KO. Had a chance and kind of let up and let Katie back in the fight.
yeah, she. But we see Mikey Garcia do it a couple of times. But I think Amanda Serrano's biggest problem was she got too in love with the combination punching. Like she caught her in like we said in the earlier rounds, she had her in trouble. But then towards the end of the round, she was just coming forward, winging punches. Like she wasn't trying to set anything up. She wasn't trying to, when Katie Taylor was like the educated boxer, she
Yeah, but you could have scored that round a 10-8 too. She was knocking Katie Taylor
no,
around the ring.
no, you could. I'm saying you could have,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
one round doesn't a fight make. And that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
but I probably up to that point. Yeah, up to that point, the only round I would have given Katie Taylor up to that point was the first round.
Yeah, that's don't you
Yeah,
know? Oh, you're
yeah,
right about that. You're right
yeah,
about that because Serrano won it like 4 or 5 rounds
yeah,
straight.
yeah.
Like, but then Katie Taylor flipped the switch because, like I said, Amanda Serrano got complacent. She wasn't. I shouldn't say complacent, but she let the fundamentals go. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't setting stuff up. She was just looking for the big shot. She was looking to knock her out. But there's a way to do that though. Like, and so I feel like she should have used the jab more. She should have been more strategic in bringing herself in towards her instead of just walking forward because you Katie Taylor Olympic she was Olympic level amateur. So you're playing into her hands. She
No,
knows how.
I agree with you on the back end. Everything you're saying is right on, and I gave it. I was 6'4" Serrano, and I could have gone with you. I think you could have been 5'5", 6'4". She only won 3 rounds. I don't know what that judge was drinking. Like I think you should get fined for stuff like that. Like that was so out of line. It was ridiculous. And so, but you're right. I think everything you said on the back end, especially the final 3 rounds, I think you were right on about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. In other news, we had Keyshawn Davis fight on the Shakur Stevenson undercard, and I was able to catch the last few rounds right after the Katie Taylor fight. Katie Taylor and Serrano fight
Yeah,
had ended, and he was looking something special because I think this was his third or fourth professional fight,
yeah.
and he was fighting a guy that was 18-1. So they're not necessarily they're moving him around pretty quickly. They put him in with some actually like some solid competition, and he dominated. Like there was one point where Keyshawn landed like 3 or 4 straight left hooks, like he was Roy Jones or something. I was like, oh man, these guys gonna be pretty good. Well, that's what I'm
And
saying.
yeah, and he's charismatic too. I love he's got really good presence.
Mm-hmm.
He got that star quality, but he's got that also that element of humbleness too, the hard work piece. But he's got You got a good mouthpiece. I like where he's going. And then we had the big one, Shakur.
Oh yeah, Shakur
And,
Stevenson.
like, you can't forget that one.
No, I wasn't going to. When I was setting it up, I was setting it up. He showed he showed who he is. You know,
Hmm.
he's able to control distance. He's a very skilled boxer. He was in. I saw a picture of him, Terrence Crawford, and Floyd together after the fight, partying. Well, so yeah, it's just the company you keep. There's another picture I did after the fight in the ring. You saw Keyshawn Davis, Terrence Crawford, all of them in there. Just like, oh man, all this talent, they work together. You know what I'm saying? And iron sharpens iron. You can see that in there. He's a master of controlling distance. Counter punching was on point, and the underrated thing was his power because um, you could say, oh, he has no power all you want, but Oscar Valdez was just running in there. You know what I'm saying? He was feeling those body shots, those straight shots to the body, those counters to the head. He wasn't just going to run in there. So and he was backing him up at some points too. I know he doesn't have necessarily had a one punch knockout power, but he has enough power to keep you honest, to keep you off of him. Uh, shoot, I think Shakur Stevenson deserves a spot on the back end of my power, at the back end of the pound for pound list. Um, top 10, back end of the top 10, I would say.
Yeah, he's definitely. I like where he's going, and I'm glad I got a shot with him out in Vegas. I'm glad I got a shot with him now as he's moving to superstardom because he's got that all written on him, and he's got the hard work with him, and he's got what I call that Mayweather power. Everybody thinks you can walk in, but nobody just walks him down. They keep him at bay enough that somebody feels something because people ain't just running up on him, and he has something there that makes people respect that distance, and he's just always calm, cool, and collected in there and in control. I'm really want to see where he goes. He's gonna be in some mega fights, and there's a lot. I mean, there's so much. Boxing is lucky
Oh
if they can
yeah,
get all these guys in the ring together.
oh
Devin
yeah,
Haney. I mean, just watching all those young kids over there, I'm like, there's a lot of talent there.
yeah. And moving forward, next week we have Canelo fighting this coming up week. On Saturday, fighting against Duval at 175. So that's gonna be a good one. And then next week, next Saturday, we have Charlo and Castano, the undisputed match at 154, and that's going to be a banger. And Jerron Anderson's on the undercard as well, so that's going to be a great night of boxing. It's I think that's a 4 week stretch. It's a 4 week stretch. We had
Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury fought. Who fought the week before Tyson Fury?
Um,
Was it Spence? Did Spence fight the week
yeah,
before?
Spence fight the week. Spence fight the week for yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
we had Spence, Tyson Fury. Um, the Tyson Fury fight. He didn't fight last week.
No, 2 weeks.
two weeks
Tyson
ago.
Fury.
Two
No,
weeks,
it
2
was
weeks.
Spence, Tyson Fury, Shakur Stevenson, Canelo, and then Charlo. So that's a good stretch of boxing. So it's really starting to heat up, and hopefully they can parlay to some bigger things moving forward. And the talk, especially on social media, are heating up when you're talking about that Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. They've had their back and forth. And Bomac was kind of in the middle of that. It was funny. They put up Bomac's professional record because he was a journeyman. He wasn't like some elite fighter. They had because I think he was like 7-14 or something like that. And
7-14.
yeah, he wasn't.
Yeah,
He wasn't
brain
a great,
damage. I mean, goodness gracious.
he wasn't a great he,
Yeah,
he wasn't a great fighter.
Shit. I mean, yeah, you right. He wasn't. He was
Hey,
terrible.
but there's a lot of coaches
He
who
was
weren't
like
great
that.
players who were great coaches and great,
I agree.
managers.
Yeah,
So
But boxing's different though. You get whooped that many times, man. You
you
lucky
know
you
what you need. See, well, you know
train.
what you need to do to not get whooped. So you've seen it enough. You know how to tell people what to avoid. that hit and don't get hit, right? All right, Hammer, back page, man. What you got on your sports back page?
I would say definitely an NFL draft. Just it was a show this time. Ed Marinero kind of embarrassed himself I don't remember Still Street Blues growing up, and I didn't realize he was a Heisman Trophy runner up, and he got there cutting up, and yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It was a lot of intrigue, a lot of trades. It was exciting. Really exciting. With first pick, I think obviously the Lions messed up again. They turned in the card too quickly. You know, they knew they wanted, but yeah, it was an interesting draft, man. I think really, you know.
How did the Lions mess up? No, we'll get to that.
No, they were the NFL was angry. They turned in the card. They want suspense on.
We ain't got no time for suspense in Detroit. We got stuff to do.
Yeah,
I know.
I guess
and they showed that. They showed that.
We all about business over here. We ain't got time for you, Goodell.
I guess the NFL wants you to use.
We say.
I guess the NFL wants you to use your 5 minutes or something like that.
We ain't got time for that. Detroit fans like Darnell been waiting for too long. Darnell's entire life has been a debacle as it comes with the Lions. We are trying to do it while he's young. We ain't got time for this.
But the Lions, as soon as they heard the name Trayvon Walker, was like, yes.
but then you saw it on the TV.
They ran to the podium.
Yeah, like, wow. Yeah, it was so quick. Oh, yeah.
They ran and Aiden ran.
I felt bad for all the quarterbacks that slipped, but they showed their value. They weren't that valued. A lot of these quarterbacks were overvalued lately. So, but again, it was a show. It was a show in Vegas. It was a good time. You know, major stars on the stage, and Goodell getting hugged and all. Getting booed and hugged, and the fans were out there, clowning and cutting up. So no, it was good to see. I was at the draft last year. There's no secret about that, and it was a different atmosphere. I mean, it was people out there, but I was way in the back, man. So
I know. I'm like, Hammer, what you doing?
Yeah, and I saw the Justin Fields trade. Where I got giddy, but yeah, it was a different. But no, I would love to be in Vegas, but can do that. Yeah, Cleveland was do. So that's my back page, basically. Just draft. The NFL knows when to do it. Next week they're gonna have the schedule out. I mean, it's just that they know how to brand. Amazon Prime. You got Tony Gonzalez and Marshawn Lynch, part of pregame coverage, and what's the name from Good Morning Football? With Kay Barnes gonna be do the. I mean, they getting it in NFL. Everyone else is really. Besides NCAA March Madness, they're all distant second. So.
Well,
I forgot something about Backpage. He just brought up the NCAA, and I got to talk about something now. Before we move on, the NIL movement. I gotta get your opinion on this because
we talked about this last week. Oh, you see, I foreshadowed that, bro.
We got
NIL, and then now we seeing it's on steroids.
It's on. It's never mind. It's just got all the.
Your amended back page. So you always say you young. We used to have the Darnell. Devon, I'll tell you about that. We used to have the afternoon paper.
That's right.
Yeah. They stopped that with the internet, and so we have like the breaking news would come out. With like the big trade and stuff like that. Yeah. So give us you give us a throwback.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. The NIL on multiple fronts. As it jumped the broom, whatever you call it, it's something we got Jordan Addison, he's being courted. I mean, for guys like that, I understand, but because
he's doing it too.
I would never tell a kid.
He lost his quarterback. He lost his OC. He lost.
I would never tell a kid not to take $3 million. You know what I'm saying? On that front, but then. You got teams like USC, they just have, they have money to pull guys away. I don't know if they're going if I don't know how, the rule at some point rules are going to be made where some things are going to have to be controlled to a certain point. Like how is it going to work? Are they going to have like some sort of salary cap, so to speak, at some point, or revenue sharing, or how it's going to end up working? But man, that happened, and then on a different front, I think we might have talked about it last week, but there's a kid from Miami. There's a basketball player from Miami who was holding out. We have holdouts in college basketball now. Guys are saying you know what? if you don't raise my NIL money, I'll hit the transfer portal and I'll
Again,
get
it's
elsewhere.
it's a market, man. It's a market.
I would
These
be
kids are
like,
being,
see
these
ya.
kids have been taken advantage of for years, and well, actually, some of them were being taken advantage of. I'll put it that way. Some people were getting paid. It wasn't legit, but now it's legit money. And I was following Caleb Williams, that little saga, and I was seeing who he was following. I was like, he ain't going to Wisconsin. Shit.
Well, I'm gonna say this: it's the genie's out the bottle, and
Faces out of the tube.
yeah, I think where the control is going to happen is not necessarily with the NIL. I think where they're going to try and have control is around the transfer part.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous now. I mean,
That part is where they're going to get a little bit more control around the transfer. So they're going, because if they start messing with the money, there's going to be a whole bunch of issues. But where they're going to get control is about this movement.
The cats got to sit out again. I mean, you can't just
they're going to have them sit out. They're going to do something.
They can't have called the John Starks. John Starks. Remember him?
Yeah.
He was at 4 schools in 4 years. You can't have that mess. I mean, that's just a mockery of a mockery, man. Yeah. A mockery.
Yeah, what's on my back page on this basketball front, boy? These youngins, boy, watching these young guys. It was fun watching Memphis and Minnesota and the fathers, and I mean, it was just some fun to the game. It reminds you of like you can be competitive, have fun. John Moran's father looking like Usher is killing me, but I just love the fun around the event. And people being able to be competitive, yet still be able to, dap it up at the end. But that was just entertaining to watch these young guns. Now they learning what it means to step up, messing around, coming over here with Golden State. They learned something in that first game that it's just a different level they got to play at. But it's just fun to see these young guys saying, "Hey, I'm not going to wait my turn." That's been a fun thing to check out, and then. The ongoing crashing and burning of my man Kyrie has just been crazy, and watching him go at things. Hopefully I'm not one of these puppets in the media. I don't think we are with that thing, but just I've been watching it just unfold in ways, and it's going to be interesting to see where some of these teams who are out go. But the NBA for me has just been a fun year, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this thing goes. I mean, Chris Paul not missing a shot. When Game Changer first talked to me about Chris Paul, when he was early on in his career, I knew he was good, he was great, but I wasn't quite I was trying to figure out whether or not I liked him. He's grown on me. He's grown on me. To be at that age and do what he's been doing is just incredible. So that's something that's been great to watch. And to
Booker getting back too. I'm glad
Booker getting back, doing his thing. It's just been great to watch. And then Giannis, even though they lost tonight, Giannis throwing the ball off the glass and dunking. It's like, man, he just like, get off me, little kids. There's so much, to this stuff that I like. You got Rudy over there throwing shots about players playing both ways in defense, sneak shots, like Drake. It's just been, basketball got some pettiness, and I'm all for it. I'm all for the pettiness and all for the other things. So that's been great. All right, we got a lot happening in the world of sports we had to share. Now it's time to get to the heart of what we want to talk about. Decipher. Please go to Real Sports Guys on our social media and check everything out. This is One Mic. I'm here with my man Hammer, with the youngin. We're going to talk about this NBA. Now, every year, because usually this happens near the end of the semester, and we all have an affiliation with institutions. And, we don't feel like giving grades. We want to identify those teams that we might have had on the honor roll, and those teams that may have been dismissed. They got some academic jeopardy. They grade so dang low. They need to go see an assistant dean. They need to go see somebody about dropping classes. They need to go get some help. They need to get there's some questions. We're going to have an intervention because they're going in the wrong way. And so, I got both my colleagues here who often debate decisions and stuff like that. I'll weigh in here, but I love their opinions on these things. It will be hilarious. I might go to a 2-screen with these two at some point because I know somebody's going to say something that's going to generate the other one, and I just need to get out the middle of all the discussion. But I'll start with you, Darnell. If you had to, I know you've been looking at your big board and you've been analyzing this. If you were to put somebody in the honorary, I'll give you. I said think about one, but if there are teams that you would try to put in kind of the honor roll space, and then we'll come back. We'll come back to the who's on academic Jeopardy honor roll space that you were just impressed that they delivered on. Who are some of those teams?
All right, so the way you phrased it, I would section teams off into tiers, right?
Mm.
My honor roll tier would be Baltimore.
Yeah, definitely Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore for sure. You have the New York Jets are going to be in my honor roll tour. My honor roll tier. The Houston Texans are going to be in my honor roll tier. And oh man,
Definitely the Chiefs, man. Shoot.
oh yeah, Chiefs balled out. Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The Chiefs are definitely in that honor roll tier, and I think that might be it for my honor roll tier because you got some in the middle that did good, but they're not on that level. I mean,
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we try. Who's on that level? All right, Hammer. Who would you put at that honor roll?
He took again definitely Baltimore.
Yeah, you can put you can co-sign. You can co-sign. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Linderbaum. I think somebody he didn't mention is on honor roll. He took all my Jets, definitely. I mean, Jets.
I said the Jets second.
You said Jets too? Okay, my bad.
But yeah, no, I'm saying that's the honor roll tier. We can say the
I'm
same
talking about
thing.
the Raggedy Anns. I think who else? I like what the Commanders did. Like the Commanders did, definitely. You know, as far as getting Dotson. I think Sam Howell's a nice pickup, but Cole Turner, I think, yeah. So I like what the Commanders did.
I love
yeah, I like again, I like what the Eagles did with Jordan Davis, with Kobe Dean. Getting trading the first round for AJ Brown, Cam Jurgens, gonna be a good replacement for Jason Kelsey. Smart move by Howie Roseman. You know, showing succession plans, being proactive, not reactive. You ever mentioned the Texans? Yeah, so you mentioned. I like the Packers draft. I mean, a lot of people dissed it, but I think the Packers understood like get stout defensively. You don't go after these first round. They haven't drafted a receiver in the first round in 20 years, or 24 years. So Christian Watson's a nice pickup, but Wyatt and Walker are good pickups. So I like their draft too. So yeah. So.
I would sneakily put
the Lions too.
The Lions. I would put the Lions in there. I think one of the things they did, and this is one of the things that Darnell, I know you've often talked about, when building a team, is that they're making a decision about what they want to be in their draft. Like they really said, look, we're gonna develop a strong defense here. We're gonna invest, and we're gonna be dominant in one space. And I felt like they made really good decisions that are going to move. They got some players that are going to make them better and be in that starting rotation, whether year one or year two. I felt like they did a really good job.
So the Lions for me are that next team. I wouldn't say they're on the honor roll, but they did a good job. I respect. I like their draft. Yeah, what would have put them in the honor roll for me is if in the second round if they would have went to Kobe Dean in the second round. Yep. They automatically there. I definitely forgot about the Eagles.
Why? We don't put Justin Ross in the pit? I mean, dude didn't get surgery. He hurt himself. Kobe Dean hurt himself, man. I mean,
I'm saying the honor roll.
He's a grown man now. He decided he didn't want to get the surgery people asked.
You're getting that sidetracked.
He got paid. He got a pay cut. So wouldn't take the Kobe Dean, man. He's honorary, man. Wouldn't take it. He's honorary, man. Honorary.
We're going to go two shot on this one. I want to make sure the people can clearly see both of y'all.
He didn't want to have surgery for this. He didn't want to have surgery for this. Man, this is football, man. You better clean yourself up and get yourself right.
What I couldn't understand, his rationale for not having surgery. And maybe, can y'all help me I'm gonna bring myself back into the mix.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tell me what.
what's the rationale? Because he's got a great upside. If he would have gone and done what he needed to do, I don't know. I just feel like what's the rationale for not getting stuff taken care of?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
He might be.
I mean, this is a guy who's an engineer.
I don't know him. He might be one of those Kyrie dudes. We just don't know it.
Yeah, I know. You want to be your team? Man. So you want Kyrie and Pad. Kyrie and Pad. Come on, man.
I mean, he's just too smart for the room. He got like a 4.0 in engineering.
I was in ATL during the the playoffs, stuff like that. The Kobe Dean was everywhere, man. ATL, man. Him and Jordan Davis. It was sad to see the brother. Who was he listening to? A bunch of knuckleheads. Because the bottom line is they cost him millions of dollars, bruh. Endorsements. Endorsements too, man. Because I mean, you look at the narrative, they're like, this brother basically don't want to play ball. I mean, it's like and y'all play football. It's like somebody didn't want to take a shot to play for the game.
But that I wouldn't draw from watching him play. That would not be the conclusion I would draw. Right? There's nothing about his play that tells me he does not want to play football. But he might be out thinking the room. He might be one of those guys who's overcome so much. He like I'm just gonna heal. Like that's one of the mind over matter type cats. He might be Ronnie Lott. I cut my finger off. That's cut my pinky finger off. That might be who he is. He was old school, but yeah, none of this makes sense. And I was like, why is this guy dropping? And then you start hearing the reports, and I'm like, that's easier to manage. Manage your injury, your surgery. I'm gonna be ready by the start of the season. Then now you drafted maybe 20, 30 spots sooner. These people know what they're dealing with. But yeah,
Cam Akers. I mean, look how these young cats healed. Dude came off an Achilles during the season. Came back.
Yes.
And got a ring now.
Yeah. I mean, look at Jameson from Alabama, whatever. I mean, he didn't hurt his draft for the most part.
Bro doesn't want to have shoulder surgery or back surgery.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing, man. you flush money. Basically, they gave him about $1 million and told him go flush it down the toilet. That's what they basically told him to do. Throw in the sewer. That's what he basically did. Real talk. And they did. Looking crazy with that I'm gonna get you sucker suit on.
Oh, that's the one that got me. I said, what is this brother wearing? I said, what are we doing?
You want him to be part of your team.
I'm like, you got what, a 3.8, 3.9 in engineering?
You can have him all day. He's gonna be a
I'll take him. But I'm like, the first thing we're gonna get you is somebody to work with your wardrobe.
Terrence Cody. He'll be like Terrence Cody. He'll be not for long. Big name and not for long.
Hey, I take him, but that suit, I was like, I ain't gonna push up against it.
7th round.
I'm like, who around you told you that was all right? See, that right there would tell me you ain't got the right people around you. See, that's the part that concerned me. You don't have the right folks around you, because who around you told you that was okay? Nah, man, we can't. The coach, Smart should have jumped in. Smart should have jumped in like, hey, man, go with the pink, but not the hat. The hat. I was like, is he going to have the glass shoes with the goldfish in them? Is that what we doing right now? Is that we doing that?
They're going to acting because he ain't been in football that long. He'll be acting. He'll be like Ed Marinero. He'll be known for acting more than football, and be a great player. He might be the black Ed Marinero. Great actor and great football player in college, but didn't do much in the pros. I don't know.
All right, so who do we have on who do we have on probation? Who are you gonna put on probation, Carl?
Definitely the Patriots. I don't know what
man.
And
I never see Belichick as a good GM anyway. Yeah, that was some terrible stuff. You got him on. You got
Al Grove's son now as player personnel. What's he doing?
Oh my goodness,
Matt Grove. That's a terrible Cole Strange. I'm like, who? I mean, Darnell, you knew about him, obviously.
Oh
What do
yeah,
you
I
think?
do.
Third round?
I knew about him.
Yeah, third round, right? Third
I've
round,
heard
right?
the scout say that if I heard the scout say that if Cole Strange played at Alabama, he'd be a first round pick. And I
Yeah, I
guess
heard
he
that
is a
too.
first round pick.
He didn't play Alabama, so yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't play Alabama. Next,
And if I played at Alabama, I'd be a first round pick too. All right, good. We could all say that. Come on.
he seems as a flake. Like he went to the Air Force Academy, right? And then he jumped back to he committed to Chattanooga. Then he jumped to Air Force Academy. Then he went back to Chattanooga. I'm like, and I'm like, and I was just like, Cole Strange. Now Thornton was a good pick, but the rest of them weren't good. But Cole Strange, I was like, I thought somebody turned the wrong card or something, you know?
Yeah, it felt like Belichick was just trying to outthink the room for something. Like, I'm smarter than everybody else. And I'm not saying it might not be a bad pick, but it felt like a pick he could have gotten later. Nobody was like trading up to get him.
And then you'll go get a quarterback in the fourth round. Will you try to be smart again? You'll go get a quarterback.
He may see something we don't see. Dardo, who you got? Who you got on that? Who you got on that list where we might have to
Oh,
call it? We might have to call in some academic support. We might have to have some intervention. We might have to call somebody.
Dallas kind of, I don't know. Like, I feel like the first pick, Tyler Smith, like I understand what they're going for, but I don't like it. I don't like the I don't like the
I
draft.
don't like the
But
draft
they've
either.
drafted well over the past couple years, so you kind of have to give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit. But Tyler Smith in the first round, Sam Williams in the second round, Tober was a good pick in the third round. They got your boy Jake Ferguson in the fourth
Yeah,
round.
I
Jake
tell you,
Ferguson.
that
I
Jake's
like
a steal.
that.
I've been saying it.
But man, they looking questionable. I gotta see how this one plays out. But if I had to pick a team, because we did the show, we did the little day two recap Saturday, and I
Yeah.
talked about New England, so I don't have to beat a dead horse there. But my second team would be the Dallas Cowboys.
Hmm. Yeah, the Cowboys. Yeah, they got questionable. So Hampton, before we roll out, we're gonna do a little bit of therapy session. So your Chicago team, you seem like you weren't too excited. They didn't get the high grade. You
Yeah,
got
you
a
can't say
young
that.
GM. All right. You got Kyle Gordon from Washington,
Yeah,
right?
Washington. Yeah, Brisker.
You got Brisker, Penn State.
Yeah, Valus Jones. Yeah, the tackle was named
Braxton Jones.
Braxton Jones. The guy you were dissing, the brother from
Dominique
Miami,
Robinson.
Ohio.
I've
He
never
was
heard
dra-
this.
he was great. Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing about it. There are a lot of like people like Dominique and what's his name Brown, and then there's
They did get Zach Thomas in the
yeah, Zach Thomas is a good pick, and then the punter was a good pick. Punter was a good pick. The kid from Baylor was a good pick, but I just yeah, bottom line is I wanted to see a big dog receiver. I just thought that to trade the first round pick. The reason why you didn't have first round pick was because of Justin Fields. And then also I was like, we're gonna forfeit the line. But apparently, my guys were telling us in Chicago, they like the line. I really think they like the line. They like Borum, they like Jenkins. Whitehair might be a post June 1, but they keep Whitehair, Patrick, and then one of these other cats. So I just like I said before, I think they're picks where there's a lot of boom or bust, maybe. That's the thing about it. I mean, I think Gordon's a good pick. I think definitely Brisker's a good pick. Some guy got fired for talking about him. You probably talking about the PhD, talking about poor, hungry, and desperate. You about that scout? You got fired for that? You hear about that? Yeah, Bear Scout. They asked him about Brisker, and he said he's got a PhD. He's poor, hungry, and desperate.
Oh,
He fired him today. Yeah. So like I said, I just hearing Paul's explanation I heard after the draft, he basically said, if these are the best guys on their board, I don't blame him. And I do believe, best available makes sense to a certain point. But when you have serious holes like we got, like I said, we need another corner. I just think they could have got a corner maybe later rounds. I would have gotten somebody, a tackle to protect my asset. Guard to help with Montgomery. But I mean, we're gonna run the ball. Like we're gonna go back to bear football. We're gonna run the ball. We're not gonna throw the ball as much. We're gonna be again very disciplined, and we're gonna get better defense so that again our offense can grind out. So, but yeah, there's a lot. Just like I said, Jones. I mean, I'm just worried about. I mean, you don't hear about 25-year-old rookies too much. That's old. A lot of people's career is over at 25 years old. So
me and Valus Jones the same age.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's 25 years old, bro. 6-year program. So yeah, so God bless him. I mean, he made the best out of his college experience. But the bottom line is that, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things. I think. I mean, I hear Jimmy Lake, which is interesting. Hearing Jimmy Lake can get back in the game, but he was on radio. Sounded good, brother. Sounded good, man. I mean, I take him as a D-back coach. I mean, he coached up with some D-backs. Rondé Barber. I mean, yeah. Does he keep his hands on players? That's all. But the bottom line is that they had Jimmy Lake break it down, and he said that Kyler was a better than a 4.52. But some of the stuff that he talked about, there were assets. I mean, you talk about his liabilities. He's talking about he's very twitchy and very. I'm like, don't talk about the brother like that. That made me wonder, like, okay, is the guy a little bit out of control?
You said, no, that's not what twitchy means. Twitchy
No,
means,
well,
if somebody says a player is twitchy, they're talking about athleticism.
Yeah, he's athletic, but he was basically saying that what he was saying.
No, I'm trying to tell you.
Let me finish, Darnell. What he was saying was that he had trouble getting his body under control sometimes. So twitchy might not be the right word. So he said that sometimes when his body gets going faster than his mind, I'm just like, you don't talk about the brother like that. That's a negative.
Oh, okay, yeah. I just wanted to clarify that, because when you say twitchy, we usually what guys.
Yeah, twitch means he has a certain. I understand that he has a.
Twitch is referring to fast twitch fibers. That's what twitchy means.
Okay, yeah. Well, I used the wrong word. I used the wrong word. I just look at the bottom line.
When the foot hits the ground, boom.
Yeah. I used the wrong word. So correct me. Strike that. The bottom line, he mentioned.
Strike it from the record.
Basically, he said that the brother, gets excited and his body doesn't get under control as fast. He said that's why he didn't run as fast as 40, because his body didn't get going. I'm like, you don't talk about a guy like that. I mean, but he's got. You look at the defensive backs in the league, Sidney Jones, and I mean, he's got a bunch of D-backs that they're in the league, that stayed in the league for the past 5 years. So the Washington track record is good, but yeah, and Brisker's good. But again, like I said, I wanted one of those wide receivers. Like I said, I want to trade up, maybe get the Christian Watsons or something like that. But I just these other guys, yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, my guy Shy is excited. He's like, this is one of the best drafts ever. You'll see, man. I'm like, okay. Bro, it's somewhere between.
All right, we'll see.
They gave us a D. They gave us a D nationally. It says one of the worst drafts. We got the old broken down Baylor Jones. We got Brisker, a guy that we don't need, and we have another cornerback we don't need. And, so we didn't address the line. And I'm like, yeah, that's some stuff that's legit. But I mean, he's the best player on your board. I'm like Pace. Pace. I'm like Poles as far as it goes. If these are the best players on your board, you take the best players on your board, because eventually you can get other depth. And they're talking about getting, June 1st pickups, and they have a lot of UDFAs, but again, I just I put it this way: we had a risk taker against who was risk averse, and that was surprising. We had like kind of a 180 as far as our leadership GM. So we'll see.
Yeah, I feel like.
No.
Go ahead now. What you said?
No, I said they're trying to get Justin Fields killed.
No, they claim he's not going, because if we run the ball, if we run the ball like we're gonna do with these three backs, they're not gonna drop. They ain't gonna be dropping back like Nagy. The game that Browns game is one of the worst coached games ever. I didn't even see it, thank goodness. I haven't seen tape, but I mean, y'all saw it. They put the brother back with some broken down tackles, broken down line, and dude just got smashed.
Yeah,
They're not gonna do that.
they
I
weren't
mean,
chipping.
they
They
don't
weren't doing
run the
anything. They weren't
ball.
chipping anyway. They weren't doing
Yeah,
anything
they were
to
chipping.
like
They were
discourage anything.
no double teams on anybody. On Miles Garrett, one Miles Garrett, one Clowney. I'm like, really? So
Yeah, that was a
yeah, he didn't want
fireable
to do it like
offense
that.
that day. Like you should have walked out the walked out the field right into a pink slip. Yeah, and I look at my Steelers. I don't know. I mean, I like it's a solid draft. I don't we'll see. I mean, they know how to get some players. Obviously, they want to add somebody to the quarterback room. I don't know if that makes us better quarterback. I mean, we're in a division with some really good quarterbacks. I think the
Got real
style of
small
play.
hands, man. He got
Yeah, I
small
think
hands.
but I like. I mean, one of the things about the quarterbacks this year is you got some quarterbacks who got that competitive character. I love the way they define that. And I think he's one of those guys who can get after it. You can mess with his hands if you want to. He's gonna make some plays. It just I think it's gonna get back to what I like about it is they're getting themselves back to playing Steeler football. They're gonna get physical. They're gonna put center it around Najee. They're gonna get physical. They're gonna get the defense doing what they need to do. Ravens been playing that Steeler football for a long time. We got over this fancy. We want to do some Air Coryell. We got to get back to like lining up and knocking people out. So I feel like they got that element they're going back to. We'll see how it plays out. I don't like having an outgoing GM doing all this work. That's the part I didn't like about it. But who am I? They've had 3 coaches in the history of their franchise, so I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. But it's not something that's gonna wow me. But they usually have players who stand out. So we'll see how that goes when I'm looking at my own team. But Detroit the Detroit draft almost got me going to get me a Detroit hat. I can play on both sides now because I had to lead the Lions back in the 80s. I had to beat the Lions back in the 80s. I had to leave when they had Dexter Busty.
That's your hometown team.
I had to leave. I had to leave when they had Dexter Busty. I had to leave way back in the day, back then, because I just couldn't handle the buffoonery anymore. I had to just leave them. I had to just get out. Like Bomani Jones said, he had to leave the Falcons. I had to leave them, man. I couldn't do it. I had to leave them behind. And I even did that going through them lean years in Pittsburgh when we had Lewis Lips. We had all that going on. I still was with them Steelers. The latter days of Chuck Noll and all that. But this draft got me excited. I mean, Aiden was so excited when he got picked by the Lions. I was like, woo, boy, it's about to go down over there in Detroit. He ain't even got to really move. He could just stay at the crib and, get him a house in Barton Hills, and make his way on down to 94 to the practice facility. I said, yeah, so I'm excited about that. The thing about this is we'll be able to evaluate this draft in a few years, right? You're not going to be able to – there's some people going to show up. Yeah, there's some people going to show up next year and show you what they're going to show you. But, the thing about a draft that I've really come to – a lot of these – you're going to have a lot of guys who become really good pros. The problem is some of these guys, they're trying to judge them on whether or not they're on a Hall of Fame track. But you're gonna have some guys who in a draft that are gonna be solid pros and committed to their teams, but part of the sense of failure is you expected them to be more than solid pros, right? You expected them to be difference makers. And you have a lot of guys who end up being solid pros, but they're not on the trajectory that people thought they would be when they were drafted in the first round, but they might have played 10 years. And so, how we evaluate the impact of these players is going to be interesting. Is it are the teams that winning? Maybe they're not doing the numbers you got to do, but they're contributing, and that's hard to do where some of these guys get drafted. So we'll be able to check that out. All right, we'll check out more of the draft. We're gonna get into dropping the mic here, Wokes. There's a lot going on. We'll come back next week with a full plate. Thank you for being with us. Dropping the mic is we're going to just, little words we want to send everybody off with. We always start with Hammer because we don't know where he going to go. So we're going to start with Hammer and see where he go. I'll go next, and then we'll end with the youngin.
Yeah, I just got to say it's NIL, man. It's getting in transfer. It's getting ridiculous in college football. I believe in the free market, obviously. I believe these kids should get paid, especially you look at Justin Ross, perfect example. And I'm tired of these limits too. I mean, I think freshmen should be able to go pro. I don't like these arbitrary 3 limits, but now it's getting ridiculous. It's getting the Jordan Addison, like I said, the brother of Miami, all these transfers. I'm looking at the top 25 for basketball, these transfers left and right. And then, just a lot of, Amani Bates and all that craziness. It's just it's out of control right now. And the bottom line is that the fact that it was the best news we heard last week was Mark Emmert stepping down. That's good. The only bad news was it's 2023, not 2022. May 3rd. So that's when he should be stepping down. So today. So and CAA has to get it together, man. I mean, they're getting. I mean, all these coaches like Dabo Sweeney, and they told you this was going to happen, right? And they're right. I mean, they were happening. The money was going to scream, not talk, scream, and people are going to go there, and so it's going to really have the have-nots are going to get worse. I mean, really worry about the HBCUs. They're going to get really. They had some draftees. Thank goodness, about 4 draftees in the draft. Thank goodness, for the first time in a couple of years. But you're having basically a race to just really a race to the bottom as far as ethics go, and Lincoln Riley coming there stealing players, and it's out of control. And so we need to have leadership on either the federal level, state level leadership with the NCAA, because we have a lack of leadership right now with these programs who are just trying to get advantage in NIL, these NIL committees. I mean, it's crazy what's happening. So it's just not sustainable, and you'll have a situation where there's going to be a real scandal coming up that's going to be devastating for people. Yeah, so.
All right. Along that college line, there's a lot going on in college sports, and even with all the NILs, one of the things that's kind of underlining is just the impact of mental health on student athletes. I know the Wisconsin track program lost a young person at the age of 21, and you see the impact of just a lot of studies of the impact. And I know Darnell working with high school. The pandemic cost a lot of people in terms of, even though we added these years, there's a lot happening with student athletes at all levels. And we really need to be thinking about well-being and health and wellness. We need to raise that issue. As much as we talk about the NIL, we talk about a lot of these things, we need to be really focused on also the mental health and the care. And our coaches, frankly, are not always ready to do that. And part of it is what's kind of embedded in what it means to be in sport. There's a lot of, how do you break through things? How do you, kind of framed around mental toughness. And physically, we know the difference between soreness and injury. But when it comes to mental health, we don't know the difference between a breakthrough moment and someone who is having a breakdown. And I think we just, in the talk of all this money, and one of the things I said early on when I was talking to Ramogi Huma and to Alan Sack, is that the money is just not going to be the answer. You have to also develop people in what to do with their resources. And when you add more pressure in that space, it's not always good. And so one of the areas we just going to have to do a better job of paying attention is mental health. And then on the other side of it, I got to be able to say this because this is the opportunity to say it. Is we had the opportunity to have my niece on the show, and she had dropped her album, and she had walked away from basketball, but now she's coming back. We going to Bethune-Cookman, y'all.
Yeah,
we
sir.
going to